this the one?
Indeed it is. And this is Jonathan. He's going to let you drive some of his cars.
Well, not quite my cars, per se. It's a mere detail. You know, I'd really rather be down there racing them myself, to be honest. I'm actually quite handy behind the wheel, but it's the downforce, those lateral Gs, you know? The old neck can't really handle it. So I need a pro. And that's where you come in. We run in a bunch of events throughout the year. Time trials, races, all sorts. And I have it on good authority that you have the ability and temperament to do well in these. Make our business look good, and most importantly, bring the cars back in one piece. So consider this a formal invitation. I'll see you at the track.
Now, I'd just like to step into my office. I'd like to go over those contract provisions we discussed on the phone.
It's time for a well-deserved rest from the championship for a classic exhibition event today. It's winner takes all, so who will emerge on top in this unique challenge? Good morning, and I hope you're as excited as we are for today's practice session here at the Shanghai International Circuit. This 5.45 kilometre track provides both low-speed cornering and a long high-speed straight, a combination that will challenge even the most experienced driver. Now then, Anthony Davidson, there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about track limits. How much is too much when you're cutting corners and running wide? What are your thoughts on this? And do you think we'll be seeing drivers pushing those limits this weekend?
Well, I'd be disappointed if we didn't, frankly. If race control want to clamp down on drivers wandering off the track, then it's up to them to police it. As a driver, you're being paid to get your car around the circuit as quickly as possible, don't forget. So if you're not pushing those limits, if you're ignoring the advantageous line, then you're not doing your job properly. Now, I agree that, we have these white lines there for a reason, and we do want to see those limits enforced, but for me, it's not a driver's responsibility to do that.
We haven't done a race simulation on any tyre yet. We have multiple sessions available, so it isn't urgent right now, but we should make time for a tyre wear program at some point.
As all the cars are now over the line, your top three again are Vettel, Bottas and Kimi Raikkonen. That concludes an interesting practice session.
Hi, it's Emma. Your qualifying goals came up in the board meeting this morning. Here's what to expect.
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. I was looking at some highlights of previous races here, and the one thing that really stood out to me was the run down to turn one. It's not an easy one to navigate as everyone is scrapping to get into there first.
Turn 1's always a consideration for this race. It's certainly a difficult one to get right when surrounded by other cars, but the race isn't won or lost there. You've got to be smart, get through, and hope your rivals get into trouble and not you.
grid is all set then for the race tomorrow. But before we go, let's quickly remind ourselves of our top three, who are Bottas, Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted.
Hello. I just wanted to pass on the team's expectations for this race. Good luck.
Ever since the Sauber of Felipe Massa passed Jenson Button into turn 1 at the very first Chinese Grand Prix in 2004, Shanghai has consistently provided close racing and extraordinary memories. It's where Lewis Hamilton effectively lost the title in his rookie year, and it's where Nico Rosberg claimed Mercedes' first win of the modern era in 2012. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1, and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. Joining me once again to take you through this race is the effervescent Anthony Davidson, and I'm very much looking forward to it getting underway. You raced here, of course, didn't you, back in your Super Aguri days in that infamous Chinese Grand Prix of 2007?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't last that long, though, unfortunately. Qualifying had gone pretty well, but my brakes failed quite early in the race, around lap 10 or 11, something like that. And of course, back in 2004, I was the very first Formula 1 driver to complete a lap of this circuit. Just thought I'd mention that for you, Crofty. You like a good stat. It's a fairly tough circuit on the brakes here, though. You know, it's that long back straight down into turn 14, and then you got turns 6 and 11. They're quite heavy as well. On top of that, managing your front tyre wear is always a challenge around here, so there's a lot to keep in mind during the Grand Prix.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Perez, Grosjean, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg and Daniel Kvyat, Sainz, Ocon, Felipe Massa and Alonso, Stroll, Van Dorn, Jolyon Palmer and Pascal Wehrlein, Ericsson and a Haas rounds off the grid. And now...
We're below where we should be on the grid. We will... Okay, this is Jeff. Can you hear me? There's a fair amount of damage to the front wing. We suggest you come in. The drivers we're racing are Van Dorn and Grosjean. We've just seen the stewards give the car behind a drive-through penalty. Okay, box, box, box. We're adjusting the strategy. Come in this lap. We're sat at the back. Last place. Palmer ahead. The pit window is open. Pit window currently open. 14 laps to go. Box this lap, please. We need to get you on new tyres and move on to a different strategy. grab rubber and bring it home.
That's a fantastic performance from Ferrari. It hardly looked in doubt. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari, on the top step once more. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Sebastian Vettel takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
Well, Jolyon Palmer did a great job coming through the field today, so my vote goes to him.
And here's how things are shaping up in the...
Hi, Emma here. I've just come from a review. There were a few concerns expressed about your performance so far. Let's try and turn this around a bit in the next few races, okay?
Looks like one of our development parts didn't fare too well in testing. I've put it on hold for now. You can restart work from the laptop. We're going to have to go back now and make some adjustments in order to get the final numbers looking more like we were expecting from the simulation.
Welcome to the deserts of Bahrain, where the Formula One circus has rolled into town. We're expecting the cars to appear out on track shortly to start today's practice session. Quick look at the classification at the end of the session then. Here are your top three: Hamilton, Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. Practice times are on the board then, but no points are on offer just yet. We'll be back with more...
Hi. Just letting you know that we've had the team's expectations through for the upcoming qualifying session.
The cars are ready, the drivers are ready. We hope you're ready as qualifying is about to begin here in Bahrain. And I'm here, of course, with Anthony Davidson on what has turned out to be a very pleasant...
Let me know you're okay. with that position. Well done.
So qualifying is complete and we're all set for an exciting race tomorrow. Your top three are Vettel, Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. It's time to leave for now, but we'll be back tomorrow when the Grand Prix itself gets on.
Hey, how are you? I have some information on the race goals you should keep in mind.
The track acclimatization process.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today, with 15 corners and 2 DRS zones into turns 1 and turn 11. That should create some good passing opportunities. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Bahrain has showed us many times in the past, though, Anthony Davidson, that a good strategy will only take you so far. Beyond that, you need good racecraft and you need good consistency.
And a little bit of luck too, I'd say. This is one of those circuits where the safety car always seems to come out just at the right time to condense the field together and mix up the cars on different strategies. It's hard on brakes, it's tough on fuel, and the main overtaking opportunity is down into turn 1, where it's easy to outbrake your opponent and potentially have a bit of argy-bargy as well.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Sergio Perez, and a Haas. Grosjean, Ocon, Alonso, and Nico Hülkenberg. Massa, Hamilton, Daniel Kvyat, and Sainz, Palmer, Verstappen, Stoffel.
Okay, the run into turn 1 isn't... Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you pulled through. Thank you.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Sebastian Vettel, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Oh, well, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. He was fast, decisive, everything you'd want from a top-class driver.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Ferrari moved to the top of the table. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time, though, goodbye.
Hey, good to see you again. The factory sent over the parts that were looking good on the rig. They're being fitted as we speak. Have a look at the report.
Here we are at the fabulous Sochi Autodrome in Russia for what is expected to be a compelling race weekend. And it begins with a wet and potentially awkward practice session for the drivers. Now, I'd like to tell you it's bright and sunny and we're enjoying some lovely warm weather for free practice today, But unfortunately, Anthony Davidson, someone's got the weather gods in an angry mood, and I think it's going to be a damp one.
Well, don't look at me, Crofty. I was hoping for a dry session like everyone else, especially...
An interesting practice session there, then. Let's remind ourselves of the top three, who are Hamilton, Raikkonen, and Valtteri Bottas.
Hi, how are you? I'm just passing on your qualifying goals for this weekend.
Welcome back to Sochi. We're about to be joining the action down in the pit lane as the cars get ready to embark on their qualifying runs. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
Well, tyre management is key here, specifically the rears. It's all too easy to overheat and wear the rear tyres as they're punished.
It's a bit disappointing, but we just need to push hard in the race and we can still come away with something.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top three. Good afternoon from Sochi as we prepare to get underway for the Russian Grand Prix. The championship battle has some time to go yet, but still expect no quarter to be given here on this circuit that made its debut in 2014 and has already seen some classic racing. It's time to go racing then in the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6-mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. And alongside me to take you through it all is none other than Anthony Davidson. This was a circuit that I think in its inaugural race got off to a bit of a shaky start, but since then... Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and starting...
Some imminent gearbox issues. Watch out for jams and missed gears. Illegal maneuver. We're considering switching to an alternate strategy. Do you want to change or stick to plan A? Your front wing is damaged. Performance...
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Well, the lead at the top has come down after a poor result for our points leader. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?